on that subject then, how do you think we can kind of attract more women in tech? I mean, short of your kind of story, it's quite a unique one. What do you think would universally perhaps bring more women into the field?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about that. Every time I meet anyone who's like about to start studying, I'm like, tech, pick tech. Like you can do anything you like. You can do fashion with it, retail, like healthcare. It's just like a stepping stone and really lets you do awesome things. So yeah, that doesn't obviously make much of an impact. But I was recently at the Forbes Women Summit. It was digital this year, and Melinda Gates opened it up with basically the talking about how we need more women in tech. And she had shared the statistics of basically how we need so many more people in the tech workforce. And if we're not hiring women or women aren't a part of that, like we'll never meet our targets as well. So it's a business problem on its own. And she had talked about, what are the challenges, or how do we start getting more women in tech? And one of the things that she had brought up was just making tech more attractive to women as a thing to study or an industry to be in. And it really hit me. So I was thinking about, yeah, all the ways that I had kind of bumped into tech. I'm like, yeah, it never attracted me. I never thought like, oh wow, that's a cool thing. And she was saying even from the beginning, like in classrooms, to make it more open. And I thought a lot about, when you think of tech, what comes to mind? And it's like, a little white kid in a t-shirt. Like it's not, you don't think of women. And I don't know, I was always attracted to like boss ladies, and they were always in like finance, which is why I studied finance, to be totally honest. And I was okay at it. I was pretty good at it. But yeah, for tech, you don't have those. I don't know. We don't have those examples as readily. And I know when Elizabeth Holmes came out with Theranos, I was like, oh, wow, we've got a woman in tech now. And you see where that's gone. So it's like we haven't quite got these like awesome role models that as a society we're really like showcasing of a woman in tech doing really cool things. It's always somehow obscured into more business sense. And when you think tech, you think like Zuckerberg or well, the Google guys. So I think we need to do a lot better there of just showcasing women in tech, showcasing that diversity in tech. And I think it really takes like, finding them, which is like not easy, but B, like sharing their stories and not trying to morph them into like what we think is tech, and really letting them be themselves and represent tech. And when we talk about tech, I think we need to show more of the impact that it has. And a lot of the kind of younger people I've met are amazing. And a lot of people are looking at, social good and making an impact. And like tech is one of those places like that you can absolutely do that. But no one really connects the dots that way. So I also think we need to be better about showing, yes, technology is coding, it's things like that, but here's the impact of that, and kind of connect business outcomes to tech to make it a little bit more real. So I think that would be absolutely awesome. And I've been told several times I don't look like I'm in tech, which I was like, oh, you don't look like someone in tech. I'm like, I'm sorry, what does that mean? It's like, please clarify. So anyway, that's still happening. That was 2020. So
Wow.
that's one thing, but also dismantling some of the barriers that women are facing when they have a tech career. So I think one is like we need to get women actually wanting to study it, and then two, when they have studied it and start their careers, we're not doing them a service in helping them really grow into tech. So when I started at Deloitte Consulting, one of my really good friends, she came from a hardcore coding background. She was studying like gaming, how to build games. Just awesome, cool stuff. And when she started, they just put her in client-facing roles. So they kind of ignored this awesome tech background and put her in, just business-facing roles. And that's what she continued to do. And she never really got to build solutions or use any of her kind of coding knowledge. And I see that a lot with women where they get slotted into more business-facing roles. And I don't know if that's, in people's heads, like, oh, women in business, and there might be a little bit of a bias there. But it also is another kind of blocking point for women with real tech backgrounds to progress on the tech side. So I've seen a few things like that. The hiring discrimination, absolutely. And some of the bias when you're in work of you walk into a room full of men and you have to try to participate in the discussion, and that's pretty intimidating. And they feel more comfortable with each other. And so, I've had some situations where they would have important discussions without me, and I had to be very proactive to say, no, I want to participate. An example is like we were designing the future like solution architecture for a solution, and it was going to be done in their hotel room. So 3 guys, hotel room.
Wow.
And as a woman, your first reaction is like, no, I don't want to be a part of that. but from the business side, you're like, crap, I need to be a part of that because I want to do things like this. And those are some of kind of the things that I had seen, and a lot of women share similar stories. And we actually had a women's summit as part of one of my companies. And so as women's summit, they invited some male partners as allies there. And one of the male partners shared later, he's like, I never realized how intimidating it is. I was the only man in a room full of women, and I've never felt so different. And I was like, yep, yep, welcome to that. But we absolutely need more women in tech. And there's a great book, Invisible Women, if you haven't read that one, where it talks about all the products that aren't designed with women in mind, like the iPhone, how it's huge and not really usable for women's hands. Even things like when we studied drugs, clinical trials before used to not include women because women were, quote, like men, but with boobs and tubes, or women were too complicated to study. And then it leads to drugs being dangerous to women. So there's a famous example of that as well, Zoloft, where they had prescribed it and basically took 2 decades to see women are having a lot of incidents, and they were having traffic accidents in the morning, and it's because women metabolize the drug differently, and it was just staying in their systems longer. And so 2 decades later, they finally realized that women actually need half the dose, but they hadn't included women in the study. And so there's a lot of places where, when women aren't part of these discussions from a product side, and products ranging from, the iPhone, right, and kind of devices, seatbelts, if you think about that, as well as even like healthcare and clinical development. If the room is just a bunch of guys, like these aren't the kind of considerations that are going to come up. So we absolutely need women in tech, because in every industry we need this representation. We need much more diversity, because if we're going to build tech that's good, ethical, and that really serves everyone, we need everyone at the table.
Yeah, 100%. That some of those examples were, mind-blowing actually. So, unbelievable that that's really kind of, I guess, the situation that's gone on for years and years and years. It doesn't even seem real, which I suppose is a good thing, that does show that change is coming. But it's just mind-blowing that obviously that's been people's lives before us, and what they've had to deal with.